Ever since President Donald Trump has imposed 26% tariff on India, there are two questions which are widely asked. One, why this 26% number has been arrived, and why actually President Trump is saying 52% tariff was actually imposed by India. Is this maths right? Have you done some juggling, Gaurav?
Well, yes, I actually did a little bit of math because this 52% number actually looks inflated. And when we did the math, we found that 13% is the tariff on a weighted average basis is what India actually accounts for US. And on the non-weighted average basis also, if you look at the tariff, it is as high as 17% only. But that 52% number is actually a little bit of inflation. And the reason being that it is actually not the tariff rate, it is actually
you mean
the
numbers
trade
are
deficit.
little inflated, they are not the actual numbers. So what is the trade deficit? India is exporting to US and US is exporting to India. Whatever the difference is, which is around $45.7 billion,
Yeah.
that deficit is actually calculated on basis of percentage, and hence 52% number has been arrived. It is not the case that a flat 52% tariff was levied by India, but it is actually the sum of trade deficit and divided by whatever
The
overall
EXIM number.
EXIM
that we
number
have.
is there.
Yeah.
So hence that 52% number has been arrived. Now
Yeah.
what is the secret of 26%?
So when we talk about 26%, what Trump is exactly trying to do is that he's just trying to build the gap between the trade deficit that he has with other countries. So for example, with India, he has the trade deficit gap of around $45.7 billion as we saw. But what he wants to do is he just wants to narrow this gap down. How he's going to do is that he's imposing tariffs. So there are two ways to do it. First of all, when we talk about EXIM ratio, exports and imports is something that we are focusing on. So there are two ways. First of all, what he can do is he can actually reduce the base by reducing the imports, or what he can do is he can increase the numerator by increasing the exports data. So what he's right now trying to do by imposing 26% tariff is that he's trying to focus on both these things, and that is the reason why we feel that around 26% tariff, that means that what he's trying to imply is for every 74 rupees of exports that he's doing, he will be importing 100 rupees worth of goods from India. So there is a gap of only 26 rupees. But from now, what do you think how this is going to impact India according to you?
Definitely. So Commerce Ministry has already issued a statement that they have carefully examining the tariffs which has been levied by US, and there are already bilateral trade agreement talks which were undergoing.
Right.
But so I expect that India will negotiate further. You see the tonality of US with India compared to what other countries are is completely different, and so negotiation is definitely on the table. But just to give clarity, we had a very good example of how Apple is sold to US. How does that work? Because in the context of understanding this 26% tariff, it is not actually the case that flat 26% will be levied. No, that is a guiding kind of a number which has been put forward, and negotiations will happen between India and US on arriving that 26% number. It can be 25.9, it can be 26.1, and it can actually be reduced also, because clause 4 clearly mentions that if negotiation happen between two countries, that number could be reduced or even abolished.
Right, that is true. And as you said, if you take an example of Apple, suppose you are sitting in America and you want to buy an Indian Apple, you will have to pay zero taxes at this moment. But if this 26% tariff is imposed, you will have to pay 126 rupees for the Apple. So definitely, it is actually a flat rate that currently is being talking about, but there are some loopholes as well as there are some changes that might happen. For example, he has excluded pharma, he has also imposed another duty on autos. So definitely there are some differences, but from now on, I think, Ankur, it will be really crucial to see how things are moving ahead with the bilateral trade agreement and how the Trump trade actually plays out from here on for India.
Yes, for sure, the bilateral trade agreement is the key to watch out for. And just to sum it up, 26% or 52%, none of the number is actually sacrosanct. It is based on the trade deficit which is there between two countries, and all in all, it will depend on negotiations.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.